Hi everybody, I'm Missi Matthews. Welcome inside Heinz Field and welcome to Steelers Live. We are going to be talking today about the Steelers rounding out their coaching staff and also some good news in terms of the Steelers organization and the Hall of Fame. But first, let's go over the three recent hires the Steelers have announced for the coaching staff. This was taking place on Monday. Mike Sullivan is the new quarterbacks coach. Chris Morgan is joining as an offensive line coach and assistant to ADRIAN, who was promoted, and Matt TOMSHO, the quality control coach for the Steelers. And joining me now is Matt Williamson of Steelers Nation Radio. And Matt, a lot being made of the Steelers making a lot of changes. We know earlier in this offseason, Randy Fichtner and Shaun Sarrett were not retained along with Tom Bradley. But sticking with the offense and these recent hires, we know Matt Canada was promoted. I mentioned KLEMM. What do you make of the staff that was put together to try and help this offense, an offense that Art Rooney II said was very up and down throughout the 2020 season and also finishing last in the run game?
Yeah, the run game is very concerning, and that goes back to the last couple of years, and it's the running back play. It's the ability to move people on the offensive line. I think scheme can help that as well. But I kind of like that they have some continuity. There's obvious changes here, and their yards per play were very bad last year when it was all said and done. As the season went along, I thought the Steelers became easier and easier to play against when they had the ball. But assuming Ben Roethlisberger's back this year, you have one more year. And so bringing a guy like Canada or promoting KLEMM and those type of guys that were here last year, you have a little bit of the old and a little bit of the new, which isn't always easy to balance. But I think it's the right move for this year and to prepare for life after Ben.
Matt TOMSHO, who's the quality control coach, he was with Matt Canada at several of his stops in the collegiate level. But then you bring in a guy like Mike Sullivan, and you know the Steelers press release about him, almost 1/3 of it, there was 3 coaches, was all about Sullivan. Obviously the experience, especially with the Giants. He has won Super Bowls. He has worked with Eli Manning. What do you like about adding him to this group, as you said, with Canada, who is familiar with the Steelers offense?
Well, a lot of it depends on, and we didn't get enough of a taste of this last year because Canada joined the staff. Many of us got super excited. We're going to see all this play action and pre-snap motion and things that Canada was well known for. Well, then COVID hits and you don't have a mini camp and you don't have a training camp and you don't have all the practices in preseason. And we saw a little bit of the new way, and then it kind of got scrapped as the season went on. So with the new staff in general, is it going to be all in on the Canada way? Are they going to kind of be on the fence of last year versus the future, which I expect to be to some degree? And then you mentioned Coach Sullivan. I mean, I think his experience with Eli Manning, an older quarterback, and those guys tend to want to get the ball out of their hands, and maybe he can help teach an old dog new tricks.
In terms of bringing in another quarterbacks coach, for you, was this a no-brainer, knowing that at one point a few years ago, Randy Fichtner was the OC and the quarterbacks coach, and we heard from Mason Rudolph this season saying how much it helped to just have a quarterbacks coach to help the younger guys?
Yes, and I think people need to realize that the Steelers have one of the smallest number of coaches in the league. And if you look around the league, I think it's crazy. There's so many teams that have far too many cooks in the kitchen. But you don't want to extend these guys too much. I mean, if you're the offensive coordinator, you might not have enough time to deal with Rudolph, as you mentioned. Haskins is a really exciting project that might work out, might not, but with a little bit extra attention from his position coach that a coordinator might not have been able to provide, maybe that's the difference.
Okay, Matt, thank you so much for joining me today as we continue to talk about the coaching changes. Of course, an emphasis on the run game, a lot of changes in terms of the offensive line, and more will be coming to us as free agency starts next month. And joining me now is Craig Wolfley, who knows just a little thing or two about the O-line. So, Wolf, from the coaching standpoint, were these changes necessary, and what do you think about promoting KLEMM and then bringing in a seasoned veteran in Chris Morgan?
You know, I think the whole gist of the matter is when the offensive line is not performing to the level that you expect it to, that something's going to happen. And it is what it is. It's not that you put your finger on Shaun Sarrett and say, Shaun, this is your fault, blah, blah, blah. But there's got to be a shakeup. And so the shakeup was made. Obviously, you go out and you get somebody, you've got ADRIAN KLEMM being promoted from within and Chris Morgan. These guys are going to be able to come along and put their personal touch on the job, which to me, it really boils down to, you got to get yourself a philosophy about the run game and the pass protection. You've got to have a commitment to the run game. And then also you've got to then extend it to, what is your technique? What is your execution in the run game?
Now, in terms of the players themselves, Kevin Dotson, a rookie, just like Chase Claypool, Alex Highsmith, no real offseason. We saw what he was able to do and getting a lot of opportunities due to injuries. Do you feel like the Steelers followed that way? A lot of people are saying that KLEMM, the assistant at the time for 2020, was working with the younger guys, and that could be a good sign that he was able to help somebody like Kevin Dotson.
There's no doubt in my mind that he's going to be able to help Kevin Dotson. One of the bummer things about the whole pandemic thing, of course, of the various bummer things, but not being able to be up close and watch these guys personally as they develop from training camp on the first day, talking to the coaches personally and interacting with them, and then you get a greater understanding of where their heads are at. But watching Kevin Dotson from day one, you knew that this guy, number one, this guy is a no baloney guy. He is a lunch bucket guy who comes to work, and the work that I would suspect that Adrian did with him is going to be something that they can now multiply upon coming into this year. I got a lot of respect for Adrian KLEMM, having some conversation with him the year before, but certainly it's going to be interesting to see what his personal touch is and how he moves with some of the younger guys. And think about Chuks Okorafor. Chuks did a fine job in stepping up when Zach Banner went down, when it appeared that, Zach was going to be the guy. He won the contest, but Chuks came on and did a good job. And you have to look at some of the work that you think that Coach Adrian was able to, apply to that.
Yeah, that's a great point. A lot of people, though, it seems like mad about promoting from within due to kind of what happened with Shawn Surratt. But then a guy like Ramon Foster, who actually had a chance to work one season with KLEMM, he was all over social media saying, no, this is actually a good move. What does it mean having that backing from a guy who has been in the room with him?
When you hear the words come from somebody like the Big Ragu, you pay attention, because that's a guy who came up the hard way. This is what I love about this young man. He was not a guy who was brought in as a third rounder, not like a Dotson or, a first rounder like Dave DeCastro. This is a guy who came in as an undrafted free agent, kept lining up in an era in the NFL and lining up every day and really meant something, and turned out to be a player that year after year they tried to replace him. If you listen to the pundits, well, he's too slow, he's not agile enough. He just beat people up, okay? When you hear a guy like Ramon say, this is a guy, I've been in the room with this guy does a great job, you take that to heart, because that's somebody who's been there, done that. And I think it's a great word from Ramon Foster in support of Coach KLEMM. And I think you pay attention to that and you feel a lot more comfortable about it.
Okay, Wolf, thanks for joining me today. Appreciate your time as always.
Thanks for having me.
All right, as I said, good news this past weekend for the Steelers organization whenever the Pro Football Hall of Fame 2021 class was announced. And of course, Alan Faneca and Bill Nunn, congratulations to them and their families. A long time coming for both, you could definitely say. And Alan Faneca had a chance to catch up with him today on a Steelers Nation Unite huddle, said he is still riding the high, not coming down from receiving the good news. And I had a chance to catch up with Faneca Saturday night after the announcement from the Hall of Fame. Take a listen.
It's amazing, exciting, and been waiting for it at the same time, like you said, so been waiting for it for a while. And the whole COVID restrictions and no hugging and muting the excitement a little bit because we have to stay apart, and all that craziness kind of played into it. But I was speechless in the moment, and I was kind of shaking the whole time. I know it didn't show, but I was really shaken throughout the whole process, and talking to those guys for a while. I was, it happened. It was just something amazing.
Still exciting, of course, and Bill Nunn was elected in the contributor category by the Pro Football Hall of Fame, also in the class of 2021. What a special August it will be in Canton, Ohio. Fingers crossed if everything goes as planned. Of course, Troy Polamalu, Bill Cowher, and Donnie Shell did not have their time in Canton yet due to the pandemic, so hopefully this summer everybody from the Steelers team, including Nunn, and I had a chance to catch up with his granddaughter this weekend as well about what this means for her family.
You know, it's been a whirlwind of emotions for sure, but I think that overall I can say that we're just so happy and so proud at the, mark that he left on the NFL and on professional sports, and the great impact that he left for so many athletes that may or may not have had the opportunity to play the game. And we're just really, really happy about it.
All right. Thanks so much for joining me here today on Steelers Live. We'll see you back here next week. Have a great weekend, everybody.
What's up, Steeler Nation? It's Stephon Tour. Welcome to the Pittsburgh Steelers official YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to our channel to stay up to date on everything going on in the Steel City. Thanks for being the best fans of football. Here we go.